Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ba'd. Assalamu alaikum everyone. We begin with the name of Allah and may peace and blessings be upon His slave and messenger Muhammad. I hope everyone is well. So I just wanted to make this quick video in light of an interesting discussion that I had on Twitter with Sam Harris, right? The world-renowned atheist, one of the four horsemen of atheism as they like to call themselves. I found myself in this conversation on Twitter between him and Hamza Tzortzis and some of his, kind of people and, a few other, Muslim du'at, so on and so forth. And the conversation was around basically, him just consistently asking Hamza to basically provide a legitimacy for the ruling of apostasy. I mean, even though he doesn't really understand the Sharia in any way, shape or form, but he thought he did, right? So he was coming up with all this back and forth, saying accept this, accept that. And Hamza was trying to explain to him, listen man, you don't really know what you're talking about. If you sit down and have a discussion, then we can get down to it, right? But he kept going on, this is an important issue to discuss, and this is evil, and Islam is evil, and that was the kind of vibe that he was coming with. And then Hamza asked him a very interesting question. He said, listen, on atheism, can you even provide a basis to justify your morality, right? And Sam Harris, he brought up his book. Now, unlike most atheists, Sam Harris, he actually accepts and agrees and affirms that morality is objective, that there is an objective good and an objective bad. And this is essential from an atheist perspective because atheists generally tend to have an issue with religion, and that's evil, and this is right, and that's wrong, and that's how things should be. But the only way you could make such objective moral claims is if morality was objective. But atheism doesn't have an anchor for morality as theists do, which is God, for example. Allah is in the Islamic tradition. But Sam Harris is a different, he's cut from a different cloth, and he actually affirms that morality exists, but he tries to justify it from a scientific perspective. So he mentioned to Hamza about his book, right, The Moral Landscape, and Hamza responded to him, showing him how he felt that this book does not suffice in providing a case for objective morality, and definitely does not explain how science brought objective morality into being, or provided a justification for it scientifically. And he obviously said that we didn't understand the book. So hey, I asked him and I said, listen Sam, I'm familiar with your book. So, educate me. Because in your book, it didn't seem to make sense. And I just want to share to you what kind of, his book says. But before I do that, I just want to highlight that I did give him the opportunity to address me back, right? And I know that Sam Harris is a big guy and I'm really a no one, but the fact of the matter is that he kept tweeting me back. He had no problem tweeting me for over a period of 2 to 3 days, right? But he didn't respond back, not even once, when I asked him to clarify his stance with regards to his book, right? To justify morality. So, I took it upon myself to, make this video, and hopefully, if I'm wrong, then Sam can, point me in the right direction. But if not, perhaps this will be an educational experience for those that, follow his works, and hopefully him, inshallah. So Sam argues that good is basically human flourishing, right? He defines good as human flourishing. Now, the immediate problem here is that he's just redefined good. I mean, why does good lead to human flourishing? Why does it have to do that? He doesn't provide a reason for this, but he just basically takes good and he redefines it in his own way. And then he provides a theory in light of this new definition. So what he says is that in life we have peaks and we have troughs, right? So the peak is when you have human flourishing, and that's good. And science can tell us what leads to human flourishing, right? That's right. Science can tell us what leads to human flourishing. What leads to good? If we define good as human flourishing, the same way science can lead us to how to make an apple tree flourish, or how to make a banana flourish, right? How to actually, grow it in the right circumstances and, make it grow in a way that it really flourishes. Yeah, if we define good in that way, then science can lead to good. But is that really what good is? No, because you've totally not taken into consideration the moral aspect of good. And this comes to light when Sam gives this analogy of chess. He says, look, in a game of chess, there are objectively right moves to make, and there are objectively wrong moves to make. Well, we'll agree. There are objective rights and there are objective wrongs. But you've conflated right and wrong with good and bad. Because no one says a game of chess is morally good or morally bad. You can, move the pawn a bit too early and make the king vulnerable. That's a very bad move. But is that an evil move? No, that's got nothing to do with morality. It's got nothing to do with morality whatsoever. So on this basis that we can see, Sam, he's tried to, step into the realm of philosophy, and as a scientist, it's something that he's not accustomed to. So for that reason, that perhaps he's confused, this issue. But see, that's not even the biggest problem with regards to his theory. The biggest problem is actually something that he identifies on page 241, and I'll quote him to you shortly. But what he says is that basically, he identifies that human flourishing leads to good, right? But people can flourish as a result of evil things. For example, a rapist. When a rapist is raping a woman, he's enjoying that experience of copulating with his victim, right? And he's flourishing. But is that... And according to his definition, that would be good. Or when a thief robs a billionaire, or robs a millionaire, or robs anyone for that matter, and then goes and spends that money on buying a house with a yacht, and spending the money on all these women or whatever people like, right? That person would be flourishing at that time. But according to his definition, that person is good. He's morally good. And I just want to quote, it's quite ridiculous that someone wouldn't pick up on this. What he says word for word at the bottom of page 241. It is also conceivable that a science of human flourishing could be possible, and yet people could be made equally happy by very different moral impulses. And then he explains what these might be. Perhaps there is no connection between being good and feeling good, and therefore no connection between moral behavior as generally conceived and subjective well-being. In this case, rapists, liars and thieves would experience the same depth of happiness as the saints. So wow, then what's the point of your whole argument? It just falls apart. You've argued saying that human flourishing leads to good, but human flourishing could lead to evil, which is not necessarily morally good, but that's what good and evil is. We're talking about moral truths. So on your basis, Sam, unfortunately, you're still left with a subjective ground. Now, I'm not going to take the moral argument here and create it into an argument for the existence of God, which we can do. That's not what I'm trying to point out right now. But what I just want to highlight is that on atheism, on Sam Harris's intellectual standpoint, he doesn't have a means by which he can justify morality to be objective. So for him to come out and say that, Hamza or Muslim or, whatever, justify your claims, justify the appropriateness of an aspect of Sharia law, which, by the way, he doesn't have any knowledge of, right? He's got no justification to ask that question, because as far as he goes, morality is subjective. So if someone is killed in cold blood in front of him, if someone is raped in front of him, that's not evil. At most, it's socially unconventional. Just as socially unconventional as someone who farts at a dinner table. Just as socially unconventional as a woman who goes clubbing with Ronald McDonald lipstick on her mouth. Socially unconventional. So for that reason, I would argue that Sam, it would be better for you to discuss the core issue at hand, and that is, does God exist? As an atheist, it would be more appropriate for you to talk about that issue. And in light of that, I'm very happy to hear Sam did tweet me and Hamza Tzortzis in the same tweet where he said that he has actually put on his blog that he is, he would like to debate Hamza Tzortzis. There was some discussion before about a debate between the two, but there was some, it didn't go forward because there was some, concerns on Sam Harris's side. But alhamdulillah, happy that Sam Harris is, he's made the commitment to obviously, he's offered Hamza, and inshallah I'm looking forward to this debate. It'll be fantastic, and I'd love to see, how the two would come together, on such an academic platform. Jazakallah khair, and I hope that you guys benefited. Please retweet the video and share and benefit those that could benefit. And I leave you with that. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Brother Imran ibn Mansour, aka Da'wah Man. Peace.